got
Boys and big girls.
it. You know the dogs?
No.
Oh.
I'm just guessing.
I don't know. They sound like a bunch of neutered men. I think that's fine.
This isn't one of those neighborhoods where everyone knows each other and gets along and goes trick-or-treating together.
Why not? That sounds like a great time. Alright, guys, welcome to Bald and the Slav episode 2. This time with an actual mic.
I am the Slav.
And I am the Bald.
Not that you could tell because you're wearing a fucking hat.
Oh. Yeah, you can't tell. Only bald people wear hats. Everyone knows that.
Joe Rogan doesn't wear a hat.
Every now and then he does. He wears kind of this flat cap thing too.
Well, it's probably he's always wearing headphones.
Yeah, I mean wearing a hat with headphones is kind of an annoyance,
Dude,
to be frank.
I saw Big Daddy Kane on the Your Mom's House podcast, and he was wearing his headphones with the top behind him, so he could still wear a hat on top of his head.
See, here's the thing that fucked me up the other day. You know, Big Daddy Kane's like a old school New York rapper, right? Like OG, right? I didn't fucking know he lived in Durham until like a week ago.
Get out.
No, I didn't know that. Like someone just mentioned, it's like, you know, he moved to Durham a couple years back. I'm like,
no way.
I'm like, first of all, why? Second of all, shit, I fucking didn't know that. And like, third of all, I just love to meet him in the grocery store now.
What, don't you just love living in Durham, man?
Dude, like low-key, I thought the rap scene here was pretty good. And maybe that's part of the reason why. They got a couple OGs that live here, apparently. So it's like, oh, fuck.
There's more?
There's a couple MCs that live down here, but you probably, yeah, it's just the producer kind of guys. But
you probably wouldn't know who they are.
No, it's like most people just don't know who they are because they weren't the ones, like, out in the tracks. They were the ones, you know, messing with the production. So, like, no one ever knows who the fuck the producer of a song is, right?
It's tragic.
Yeah. You say that, but they're also rich and they get away with not being famous, which I think is kind of the best of both worlds.
I guess if you don't want to be famous.
Right? Which, ideally, in my world, is I would like to have a nice, healthy bank account, and then no one knows how I got there, right? You know, being Cuban, they're probably going to assume Coke, but, like, that's fine. I'll live with that life. In fact, they'll fear me more, so...
Yeah, you'll garner respect.
Exactly. And then I can just walk around in a white suit and a red shirt all the time, and they're like, it's a bit on the nose, but fuck. Yeah, no, but... Yeah, so the microphone's working this time around. It was making, like, a weird little looping sound the last time. So the this whole thing that we talked about the first 10 minutes of the last episode about like, oh, you got a mic and 2 pop filters and everything. It's like, oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, we were joking about that, but it ended up the microphone wasn't even working either.
Yeah.
But now this one's working, hopefully.
Cool.
That's what we said last time.
I mean, it looks like it's recording audio this time. The thing is, we're both kind of dumbasses too because we could clearly see it was doing the same thing recording-wise again and again, and we just chose to do nothing about it.
Dude, I forgot, like, if I'm going to need to sync up the audio later, I might need a clap so I can do that. Boom. That's for me looking at the audio when I'm syncing it up later, looking at the
Fuck.
video.
You're like, how much shit do I gotta cut out now?
No, I'm not going to cut anything out. I'll just upload it like that. We're real up in here. Straight up.
Oh, fuck. You saw the, Khabib retired yesterday?
Who?
Khabib, the UFC fighter.
Why did he retire?
That was his 29th fight. He didn't even want to necessarily do that last one. His dad died right before the fight, which is pretty, like, emotional moment for him.
Did he still win?
Oh, he absolutely kicked ass. That was some of the greatest wrestling I've ever seen the guy do. He literally switched between 3 positions until he decided the triangle choke was how he was going to finish it. I've never seen a guy do that on his back, by the way. Like, just one position, this ain't going to work. Another one, triangle choke, there we go.
Yeah.
Always back on the floor.
Always straight to the next one.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, you know, George St. Pierre, which, you know, if you asked me like a couple of years ago who I thought what the GOAT was, I would have said him. He literally said that was the most masterful performance of a wrestler ever, and it's like, I have to agree.
Dude, there's this thing in wrestling, like, when you, especially in the transition between, like, taking somebody down and initiating a move on them on the ground, there's a moment a lot of the time where people, when they take someone down, they're like, oh, sweet, yeah. I took him down.
No, like they're on the
But
floor.
instead of doing that in your little mini celebration, you should be immediately going into the next setup.
Yeah, for the kill.
The next move. And if you can minimize that transition time, then a lot of times that person, as you're going for the move, they'll be having the thought, oh shit, I got taken down, instead of immediately going into the defense, and then you'll have an advantage on them.
Yeah, and that's where my assumption comes in of a good wrestler to a great one. The great one probably doesn't even have that instinct of, oh, I'm down. It's just, okay, what do I do next, right?
Yeah, immediately into the next thing, whatever that
Yeah,
happens
and
to
that's the point. To be put on your back, I'm not gonna say it's the ultimate weakness or whatever, but you're generally in the position of, you know, the other guy has more advantages over you because he has his weight and all that. But the fact that he turned that into his advantage in literally a split second is remarkable.
Yeah.
It was a 2-round contest. It was done. The only thing I didn't like about that match was the ref was kind of a fucking dumbass. You could clearly tell the other guy was, tapping, and he did nothing. Like nothing. The ref just kind of looked at it, and then the guy passed out. And I'm like, that was completely unnecessary. The guy didn't have to like see the angels for there.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, UFC refs can always get better.
That's
but...
like worst nightmare. Being in a UFC fight, and you're like, I quit, and the ref's just like.
No, there used to be a ref that he used to be terrible at that. So wrestling is easy. If if you're passed out, you're passed out, right? But
wrestling is easy.
I mean, easy to tell when someone's done, like someone's tapped out. Not easy, like the technique.
Are
Like,
you just talking about like collegiate wrestling, like folk style? Or?
no, I'm gonna say like say MMA for example.
MMA, okay.
Look, when you know someone's out in wrestling, it's either A, they're tapping, or B, they're like lights are out, they're not moving. It's like I'm pretty sure at that point he's done. He's not gonna fight anymore, right? Striking is the one though that you gotta be a lot better of a ref because if the guy's not defending himself, that's an absolute reason to stop the fight. Like if the guy's not putting up his hands, you see him moving and you can assume, oh, he's still conscious, but he's getting his ass beaten, right? So there used to be this one ref. Forgot the dude's name. Never deserves to ref anything again. Would literally just like guys go on for like 2-3 minutes after like one guy's like passed out on the floor.
What?
Yeah, no, that he was such a bad ref that he was like, I think one of the comments he literally made one time is like, if they die or something like that, and everyone's like, this is not how we do this. This is not gladiator fighting. This is like fuck.
Well, maybe it should be.
No, Joe, calm down. Like Joe Rogan came out like it's gotta be 6 months ago, and he made the funniest comment I ever heard. He had Brendan on the podcast, right? And he's like, Brendan, I really think they should bring back bare knuckle fighting again. I'm like, no! It's like the sport's struggling so hard to bring in people to think, like, it's not that barbaric. It's like, it's fine. They got rules. And it's like, bare knuckles.
Bare knuckles.
To the death. It's like, no. But, no.
Well, isn't there an argument to be made for you doing less damage with bare knuckles?
Sure, because...
You're not gonna punch as hard?
Yeah, but I'm saying for optics.
For optics. Oh,
I
yeah,
mean, optics. The optics looks terrible.
Sure, yeah.
And I mean, there's like anything as well. If you're talking about everyday guys, yes, you'll generally pull back on your punches. But when you're talking about like the elite of the elite, the bone mass on your knuckles is just different from years of hitting the bag and hitting hard things, right? So you have stronger fists. So the force I'm able to apply, even pulling back with, say, 20 years of boxing experience or striking experience, is a little different from, say, me with 1 year of boxing experience. Just trying to plow in as hard as my hand will go. I mean, even one of the things you'll hear a lot of self-defense guys tell you is like, hey, if you got to swing a punch all the way to just win a fight and it breaks your hand, it's fine because you probably broke the other guy's skull in the process. So, I mean, a lot of these UFC guys...
do you have?
Because the idea is, if you break your hand and he breaks his skull, he's done fighting. You probably are too, but you got another hand if you really got to keep going. He's got a broken skull. You know how easy this is now?
Well, shouldn't you just alternate punches then? Keep your hands...
No, but I mean, that's putting full force into, like, everything you do. So if, my knuckles shatter with one, that guy's probably hating it more than I am, because depending where I hit him. But that's the point. If you're a UFC guy, the training you have is much higher at that point. The pain tolerance you have is higher and all that. So for the whole general idea of like, oh, wearing gloves and that stuff softens the blows, it's like, you say that, but some of these dudes are freaks. They don't know limits. And anyways, the UFC gloves are pretty soft anyway, so they're like nothing. They're just a little wrap.
It's not gonna protect you that much. I really don't think.
No.
You're gonna one of those professional fighters punches you in the head, you're gonna fucking die.
Yeah, that's the point. And I mean, yeah. Like boxing's different. You got a whole ass glove. There's a lot of padding, and I mean, you can even tell even with the padding, some guys get cut up, they get broken jaws and stuff like that. But that's different when you're talking about like 8 ounces of padding compared to like maybe 2 on the UFC glove. I'm not sure what the technical thing is.
It's pretty significant.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the point. It's like the gloves they have in MMA is pretty much nothing. It's just again the optics of people looking like, oh, they're not just straight beating each other in the face. It's like, oh, there seems to be some regulation in the sport.
But we all know what we really want.
Lingerie pool. No, but anyway, so Khabib retires after 29 wins, no losses. I don't think anyone in UFC has ever done anything close to that. So my argument now is I think Khabib has to be the goddamn GOAT. He's wrestled anyone that was worth a damn and just finished them. I mean, even the thing I had against George St. Pierre that I thought he was the GOAT before was he couldn't. It seemed like at a point he couldn't finish guys. Like he would go the full way with them and beat them, like no contest sometimes, but he just never seemed like he could just knock out dudes and stuff like that or make them submit. Khabib never had an issue with that. I mean, shit, even in his final fight, 2 rounds. And I think he came in with a broken foot on top of that.
That's impressive.
Yeah, he just did it and it made it look like fucking nothing. So yeah, he was always saying how he was going to go 30-0 and then retire. There's always a simple rule in UFC. Actually, no, it's not UFC. It's entertainment in general. And Steve McMahon, the guy who owns the WWE, said at one time is give the fans what they want, but not what they expect. So we wanted to see Khabib retire around 30. We were expecting him to retire at 30. He retired at 29. So, perfect kind of storybook ending. It wasn't what we were expecting. It was like a shock. Everyone was expecting the one more, right? And it didn't happen.
Well, wouldn't that just make people disappointed?
No, you say that because having some surprise in something like boxing or MMA or any other sport, actually, for that matter, is always kind of nice. So imagine, like, oh, Khabib, you won 29-0. This is a really emotional match. Everyone knew what was on the table coming into it. And then imagine the shock of, by the way, I'm retiring. I'm going back home to Dagestan. It's like, oh, shit. Wow. And so now everyone's talking about, like, well, what's next, right? It's like, oh, wait, who's
going home? That's what.
Yeah, who's winning the championships, right? How we're gonna set that up, right?
Like who's gonna be the next guy?
Yeah, like how are we gonna set up the next fight to be the next champ and all that? I mean, the assumption is Conor McGregor is gonna be fighting Dustin Poirier next, which I don't expect much from that because McGregor already beat Poirier once, but then again, Poirier has changed and turned into a much more dynamic fighter. I expect similar results because McGregor's a fucking monster. As much as I hate the dude, he's a monster. But that's probably going to be the fight where they put a belt on the line to say, like, oh, who the next champ is. But the problem I feel for any of those fighters, if I were them, I wouldn't want to do that. And there's a very simple reason. You're just a placeholder for the guy who by far had that belt, right?
That's true, I guess, yeah.
It's like, oh, it's not that you're the actual champ. It's the champ retired. Here you go. And it's like, oh, shit, that's not the way I want this, right?
So what does that mean? Maybe we should make a new rule that whenever you win the belt, you have to keep fighting until you lose it?
No. I mean, fighters retire whenever the hell they want. I mean, Dana White always likes when that something like that happens, that you retire after losing a belt or something, because it's like, oh, it's a passing of the torch at that point. It's not a like me retiring or something. He respects when guys retire, but he doesn't like it. You can get why, right? Because there's always going to be that thing of, look, let's say McGregor wins the next fight. I'll sit there and say, yeah, he's the champ, but let's be honest, if Khabib was still here, he'd choke him out. There's no question to that. And it's like, so the belt means nothing. Almost in a small way, of that degree, right? Same thing in boxing.
Kind of a dick move to everyone else.
It is kind of a dick move. But that shows you how dominant this dude is. You are literally coming after the GOAT, like the greatest of all time, and you're saying like, oh, I'm taking his belt. It's like, you know how shitty it must have been if you were the guy who I forgot who beat Muhammad Ali to win, the heavyweight boxer of the world, and you're literally like the next guy after him, and you're like, he was the greatest of all time. I'm not competing with this dude. Yeah, I beat him because he was old, but that wasn't because I'm better than him.
I mean, if he's still fighting.
Yeah, but you get what I mean, right?
Yeah. I mean,
it would just be one of those things of like, fuck, I gotta live up to this dude. I'm not gonna do that. Imagine being like the next, like the moment Michael Jordan retired on the Bulls, and then you're chosen to be the next player, and then they're like, yep, you have to live up to his legacy. I'm fucked. I'm just straight fucked. There's nothing I can do.
Well, hey, if that's how you feel, then you've already sealed your fate.
Yeah.
If they chose me, I'd say, all right, I'm the next Michael Jordan.
I deserve to be paid like him, and I might disappear to Cabo for the rest of my career.
Well, you can hire a stand-in, I guess.
you don't even spend enough money. It's just like a black stand-in for yourself, and everyone's like, "Pretty was a white Russian kid. Like, what the
He's up
hell?"
on the field, Andrew Williamson, and there's just a tall black guy walks out. All my friends and family are like,
They call you and they're like, "Where the fuck are you at?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm just on the
I
beach."
can't answer the phone right now. I'm busy playing basketball.
No, it's like playing basketball, but you hear like conga music playing in the background as you're in this resort, like women's voices on the phone. It's like, yeah, I'll be back. No, but no, that was a pretty exciting night. There's one guy I like to watch on YouTube. He talks about MMA all the time. It's called like Bad Guy Podcast or something like that. And
Ooh.
the way he was he used to be a UFC fighter. And he had the persona of being the bad guy, right? Which is always great for marketing, right? Billie Eilish just comes out from the hot tub right there, and we're like, huh, show us those titties real quick. But but essentially what he was saying is like what George St. Pierre did was the wrong marketing move to say like, oh, he's the greatest of all time. The way he ended his career was masterful. All that he should have said, he was too scared to fight me. I ran him out of town. I disagree with that because let's put it this way. What if the guy gets so pissed he comes back and then he wants to fight you and then you talked all this fucking smack about, oh, I ran him out of town, and he fucking submits you in the first round, like in 30 seconds. You know how bad that hurts your legacy?
Your legacy's destroyed.
Yeah, right. It's like you're like, oh, Carl's is a little bitch. He ran away because he doesn't want to wrestle me. And then I come back and finish you in like 30 seconds out of pure rage. And you're like, I have to live by the words I just said the rest of my life. That's not a great look. That's just not.
Yeah, no, that's a prime example of instant karma.
Exactly. Which, you know, gets you Reddit points. I mean.
Yeah, but it's Reddit points with people laughing at you.
But those are Reddit points, man. Karma's important.
You can upload the clips of yourself if you have the rights, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough. Become wealthy out of like your own fucking shame.
I mean, hey, that's how you turn a loss into a win, right?
I mean, that's what the Kardashians did with that porn tape, right?
You may have shamed yourself and your legacy, but boy, you flipped it around and you made millions of dollars.
I mean, Kardashians. You're that's the Kardashian model right there, isn't it?
I don't know what the Kardashians do. I'm one of those few people who actually doesn't pay attention to them.
I pay attention to.
Apparently, there's a very loud portion of people who don't care about them because they're very vocal about how much they don't care about them.
There is,
That's
but then
what I sound like right now.
Well, no, because the people who are like super vocal also know every fucking thing they do, which is like, so you don't care about them, but you knew what restaurant they ate at last night. That's really bizarre. I wonder why.
That's the thing, Carlos. We're giving them press right now.
Okay, I'm willing to do that. Like, no, I gotta give credit where it's due. So you know essentially where it all started for them, right?
No.
Okay, so their dad, Robert Kardashian, was the guy who defended O.J. Simpson in his, famous trial where the glove totally didn't fit, right?
He sounds like a great man.
He's a lawyer. They're all great people. But, so essentially, okay, that's the starting point. Everyone knows the family because you're the ones who defended O.J. Simpson, right? Cool. The wife divorced from him.
Does that make you famous or infamous? Because it depends who you're talking to.
Hey, to quote the Wolf of Wall Street, all publicity is good publicity, right? So.
Alright, continue.
So then Chris divorces him because I can't be married to a man who defended O.J. Simpson, right? So.
Oh.
What? Marries Bruce Jenner.
Goody little two shoes.
Yeah, marries Bruce Jenner, now known as Caitlyn. But Caitlyn was never one of America's greatest Olympians. I'm just gonna put it there. It was Bruce. Bruce won those goddamn medals.
Hold on.
Bruce Jenner was a phenom when he performed the Olympics. Jenner.
What was his relationship with
Chris?
Chris?
They married. That was her second husband.
Second husband.
Or third, maybe. I don't fucking know. Okay, so they get married. The Kardashian daughters grow up and all that, and they start a show because Bruce is a star.
Are those all daughters of? Bruce at the time he was
Bruce
with?
has 2 daughters. Those are, the Instagram ones. Kylie and Kendall.
Okay.
They're like models and shit. I don't fucking know. All I know is that one of them was in the Pepsi commercial that went like infamous. Do you remember that? Like, give the police the Pepsi, the police will stop beating you.
I don't remember that, but that sounds pretty funny.
Yeah, but okay, so they had a couple kids with each other and all that, but most of the kids are under Robert, right? All of them have the last name Kardashian because that's the name that sells, right?
Sure.
Cool. They have a show. It's not that popular from what I understand when it starts off. The rationale is, okay, everyone knows the Kardashian name because, OJ. Everyone knows Bruce Jenner because, fuck it, he's a great Olympian, right? Like, it's like saying Michael Phelps starts a show. You're going to watch it just because it's fucking Michael Phelps, right? I know who he is, right? Show starts, whatever. First season, from what I understand, didn't sell that well. What happened was, Kim Kardashian has a sex tape with Ray J that went super viral, right?
I remember that.
And then they made a whole fucking empire out of that. They made a whole season about how the meltdown over the porn tape and all that, and the legal battles they had to go through. Which, by the way, you can still find on Pornhub with literally, you can still find on Pornhub with literal typing of a K. It's not even difficult. It's not difficult to get your hands on that, and also subpar. It's a subpar porn tape.
Carlos does not approve.
No, I don't. Ray J's not like Ray J's like was a subpar rapper back in the day that was doing all this. Like filming it, and he's not a good cameraman. Let's just be honest. This is top camera quality. Him was
better than last week's. There's still a little too much room up top, above the head, I think.
Yeah, but also my arm.
Oh god.
Oh my god! Look at this fucking. I don't think it's that big in real life. If it is, I'll take it.
God damn.
But anyways, yeah, they made a whole legacy out of it. Now they got like clothing chains, they got makeup lines, they got like one of the top selling shows on television. Everyone fucking knows the name. I think Kim, for every fucking Instagram post she does, she gets like 100,000.
Kim, the daughter of
Chris. Robert. Yeah, Robert and Chris.
Robert and Chris. Okay.
Yeah. Because even the women seem like they have male names.
So she's not related to Bruce or Caitlyn at all.
No. I know Bruce has his own kids that was from a previous marriage, and then they have the 2 kids, the Kylie and Kendall, with each other.
Okay.
And I think that's it. I think Robert's kid. I'm pretty sure they have one boy in the family. So
I'm more educated today.
Yeah, no, but legit, it's like what you were talking about. It's like the one fuck up of your life. I'm pretty sure at the moment they didn't want that porn tape to go out, and they thought that's what was gonna like fucking destroy anything that they had. But if you're a socialite and you don't really do anything like acting or music for real, right? You kind of have to take publicity and roll with it and then make yourself famous somewhere else. Now, if you tell me why she's famous, it's like, fuck, she's married to Kanye West. She owns God knows how many companies. Those companies makes God knows how much money. I mean, I'm pretty sure she's worth $1 billion at this point. I know Kanye's worth like 5, right?
Kanye is running for president.
Did you see the podcast? It dropped yesterday.
I did.
I
fell asleep for that.
It was not as entertaining as I thought it'd be. I was expecting Kanye to go out on another wild tangent about like, you know what? I might just stab my kids, like something wild like that. But no, nothing like that happened.
Kanye is a man of God.
Yeah, he was talking a lot about God on that one. There was one funny scene though that I thought this was gonna go bad because you say this to anyone. You could say this to literally anyone, but you said it to Joe Rogan instead. He started talking. I think at some random point, like the powers that be, God knows who the fuck they are, want to end you like they did to Bruce Lee and his son Brendan Lee. Do you know this like conspiracy theories behind that?
Oh, I did watch this part of the podcast.
Yeah, and then Joe's like, Brendan Lee was a fucking accident. Like, what do you mean? And then he's like, I mean, come on. Like, Joe's like, please, Spotify's gonna end me if we talk about this. I can't do it. No, but like, but yeah, no, that was just funny. That was funny. That's where I thought it was gonna go wild.
Yeah, I don't think that kind of misses whatever point he was trying to make, though.
Absolutely, but that's kind of Kanye.
And that's kind of Joe as well to correct him, even though...
Yeah, because if you're going to talk about anything, you can talk about literally anything else, but the moment you mention any martial artist, ever any position, he's gonna be like, I must correct.
That reminds me, there was somebody else on Joe's podcast one time, and they were talking about something. I can't even remember it, but they were like, and it was like, the experience was like unlike any psychedelic you could ever imagine. And I just imagine, like, Joe just sitting on the other side of the table, like,
So, I'm wondering for multiple friends, we're gonna buy 8 gallons of this stuff. It's like, oh, I mean, shit.
I think I was trying to say, like, no psychedelic experience could compare, or something like that.
No, it's just...
I just imagine Joe holding it in, just trying to explain to him.
I mean, that, or maybe he's interested in whatever psychedelic experience this went on. Because...
I don't remember exactly what the context was.
No, because, I remember when he was talking about psychedelics with Mike Tyson.
Uh-huh.
That was really funny. It's like, Mike's like, yeah, and I did it. I never felt that anger again. And I'm like, and that's when you became a shitty boxer, wasn't it? It's like, fuck. That's what did it to you. Shit.
Dosed him with shrooms.
No.
Then his wife called him fat. Now he's crazy again.
Yeah, low key though. I'm not sure why Joe moved to Texas from California. I get where he was talking about, like, you know, I want more space and all that.
California is a prison.
But you know what that prison does
Texas.
allow? It allows weed and drugs. Texas doesn't.
That's a good point.
That when I heard Texas, I'm like, I thought, like, I was expecting to hear him move to Colorado.
I think it's decriminalized.
No, I'm pretty sure Texas is not.
Well, maybe they just look the other way sometimes.
Maybe they have enough, like, property rights that the cops can't even fucking go close to your property. That's fine. But, like, you get what I mean. It's still like, you pushing it, right?
Mm.
It's still Texas. They'll snipe you at distance. That's how good they are.
Everyone's talking about turning Texas blue. We need to talk about turning California red.
You know, one of the things that I think would be, you know how people always have the issues with, like, oh, popular vote, electoral college and shit like that? I think, one, we have to accept. The electoral college is how we do it, right? That's just how it is. But we can...
But not if it doesn't get what I want.
Exactly. That's where people get bitchy. But here's my argument for it. Why the fuck do we have it like one guy wins it all? Why don't we just split it by its, like, own constituency, like, where each electoral point counts? Because then if you're in California and you're, like, a Republican literally everywhere outside of L.A., your vote actually counts. And if you're, you know, a Texas guy in Houston or whatever, that's generally blue, your vote would actually count too. And we still keep it the electoral college. It's just dividing the points equally. Instead of saying, like, this bullshit thing that because you won by one vote. Fuck it, you won the whole pool, man. That's how it goes.
I think it differs from state to state, doesn't it?
I think Maine, you got the right to do that, but I'm not sure if, part of it is my ignorance. I'm not sure if that's the state can make the rule, or if that was, like, agreed upon when they became a state kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I'm too ignorant on this topic to know for sure, but I think there are states that do it both ways.
Yeah.
That are all or none, and some that split it.
Yeah, I think Maine's one of them, or Vermont is another one maybe, or maybe Delaware. Like, it's a couple of those states up there I know do that.
It is interesting. You may be right. It may make sense more to just, like,
because I don't agree
all for one.
because I don't agree entirely with the popular vote idea, because all you have to do then is campaign in big cities and you're gonna win every time. That's all you gotta do. It's like, I'm gonna target LA, Chicago, New York, Miami, Houston, Dallas, and then it's like, oh, you won literally like 10 little cities and you got all the votes that you needed to get, right? Hypothetically.
Right.
Compared to the dude that's actually having to go through the diverse range of opinions in the rural parts of America, or even not even rural, like smaller city America too, right? Mm-hmm. But comparing that to saying, no, you still got to win electoral points, but say we divide it to make more logical sense, because what the hell are you going to tell me that LA is the same as, like, way upstate California? They're not, right? They don't have the same issues. They probably get buck heads all the time in state politics. Why the hell is each of their votes, like, why is LA gonna just overpower everyone else in the state, right? Mm-hmm. Just because everyone lives there. And by the way, most people who live in LA probably don't live there their whole lives. They probably moved in at one point because they want to pursue some fucking dream, and then they leave in 10 years or some shit like that when they realize, my dream failed. I'm not gonna be an actor.
Or they become homeless. Or they're homeless people that move there because the weather's nice.
Oh no, did you also hear that because San Francisco is so fucking dumb, that people actually, like, other cities, to solve their homeless problem, just bus them to San Francisco? They're like, shit, how much is the busing gonna cost? It's maybe like a couple $1,000, sir. But that solves our homeless problem? Yeah. Boys, you're going to San Francisco.
How would you like a free ticket to San Francisco?
Yeah,
land
no.
of lovely weather. It'll be warm year round.
And now you would think that
Like,
San
what?
Francisco would try to really fight these buses. Like, okay, one, just because we're, I'd say, let's say, better to our homeless or whatever, doesn't mean you just get to send them over
Dude,
here.
talking
But
about drawing the short end of the stick.
what?
Being San Francisco and having other cities send homeless people to you.
No, but
That would've-
don't you think that shows there's something a little messed up about your policy that it's like so giving, so generous that everyone else is just sending them your way because one, they know once you're there, you're not coming back. You're just gonna sit there. Honestly, I would feel so bad if you live in San Francisco. You know how expensive that city is? It's like ludicrously expensive. Like absurdly. I've heard like a gallon of milk's like $7 or some shit like that.
Well, oh really? God.
Yeah, and gas is like stupid expensive.
I thought you were just talking about rent. I was like,
Oh,
well, you
rent's
don't have to worry
absurd.
about that
No, I mean
if
rent's
you're
absurd.
homeless.
But if you're not, right?
Or if you're trying to not be homeless.
Yeah, let's say you work at a San Francisco company, you know, you're a businessman or some shit like that, and then you gotta go home and there's like 20 homeless guys like always staring into your window as you're trying to jerk off. Like, I wouldn't feel comfortable with that.
Or maybe that's just what you want.
That's not what I want.
Want the homeless people looking at you.
I want
watching
them
you.
to be jerking off and me watching them. There's a difference, alright?
Oh, okay, so you're not jerking off. You're watching them. And
No. When I jerk off, I don't want to see them looking at me. I want to be looking at them.
Oh, yeah, but you can do both at the same time.
That's true.
Unless you just want them to not.
I think
know
we
that
solved the
you're
San
looking at them.
Francisco
It's kind
problem.
of creepy. I was thinking like you just want to sit there and you want to watch them jerk off. I thought that's what you were saying.
No.
Like
I mean,
and you not jerk off, but like you just want to watch them jerk off.
I can jerk off internally. Like,
Really?
in my mind.
You don't like invert your penis?
I'm absolutely bullshitting you right now.
Well, there are people who can reach ejaculation without physical stimulation.
Part of me is like, you know how sad that is? Because I can do the same thing when I was 15 going on my first date. You just found how to do that state, but like at a drop of a hat. It's like that. I don't know if that's impressive or kind of sad.
I was able to do that years ago.
Exactly. But yeah, no, so no, I mean that's my way of viewing the electoral college is like we can't just get rid of the institution because it makes sense for what it is. It's a simplified way of combining numbers to ensure that it's not just something as simple of saying that suppose you win California by 100% of, let's say there's only 2 states, right? You win California by 100% of the vote, you'd clearly win California. I won Texas by 51, you 49, and then like a few other states, and that's enough for me to win. There's an argument to be said, well, you were able to just dictate off one place's policy, right, to win, while I was able to get, the majority, even though it was, just a slight majority of multiple areas to agree to me, right? My plan's more balanced in that approach.
You're right. The whole idea is to ensure that one state isn't just dictating policy for all the other
Exactly.
ones.
Like, why the fuck do we have the Iowa caucus? No one goes to Iowa. No one gives a fuck about Iowa unless you live there, right? We have it because that's the symbol of we have to care about the smaller states.
Iowa
Why do you?
because I love Iowa.
What does Iowa have?
Corn.
You fucking saved yourself there. You had to think hard about that too. You really had to think hard about that. You're like, is it one of the corn states? I'm not sure. Is it potatoes maybe? Shit. No, I can't even remember the capital of Iowa. Des Moines maybe? That sounds like the capital.
That sounds like a capital.
Yeah, right? Des Moines, Iowa.
Well, maybe you don't say Des Moines. Like, you don't say the whole thing to make it fancy, like French. Des Moines.
Yeah, and just watch in our second episode of ever, we just become hated in Iowa. Banned there. We can never go.
They're going to love me because I remember that they have corn. Watch them not have corn.
Yeah, no, both of us really fucked up there. It's like our number one produce is leeks. We do leeks.
If they had a state
Full of
vegetable
leeks.
that was a leek, I would say fuck you, Iowa.
Watch it be a leek, and then there's our band, super band.
I just learned the Russian word for leek.
What is it?
Luk pare.
Luk pare? That sounds
It's
like
like a hyphenated word. Luk pare.
so 2, like you split it, right?
Luke, because Luke means onion, but so it's like.
Well, leek is kind of like an onion.
So it's Luke pare.
Luke pare. All right, that's interesting.
Pare. I don't know what that means.
I'm wearing my little teddy bear shirt. Mishkam. Remember we called?
Yeah, that's right.
We called your mom about that. That was really funny. It's like, so how's teddy bear? And then your mom just starts listing off. Bear is this. This is that. Polar bear is also this. And teddy bear Mishkam. It's like, oh, it's the same fucking word. It took 5 minutes to get there. No.
I don't really remember the conversation that well.
No, because like your mom is just giving you a Russian lesson out of nowhere, which is funny.
Like more than I asked for?
Yeah, because you were asking like, what's teddy bear in Russian? And then she just starts going down the list of like every bear.
Yeah, every type of bear.
Yeah, like the bears from San Francisco are called this. It's like, oh, that's a different bear. Let's not talk about that.
The name of the bear who went into space.
Yeah. Oh God. Going back to Khabib.
Yeah.
You know what's one of the most infamous things he did, and you can look this up afterwards. He wrestled a bear when he was like 4 or 5.
Oh, dude, I've seen that. I've seen that video.
Because Dagestani people don't give a fuck. They're like, we're not gonna coddle our kids. They wrestle bears when they're 4.
Dude, maybe you were the one who showed me the video of that. Like, I think it was like a Polish.
Oh no, it was the Wikipedia page. Yeah. Wojciech the bear.
Wojciech the bear. Yeah, and they would like wrestle with the bear.
He would eat cigarettes.
He would eat cigarettes. They drink beer.
So for people who don't know, Wojciech
He would march with them and salute with them.
Yeah, so there was a Polish like a small contingent of the Polish army that was kind of isolated in the Second World War. They kind of did their training in Russia, and they were going to act as like the Polish Free Army because Poland was already conquered by the Nazis, right? They start marching through Persia because the Soviet Union all the way decided that, we don't want a bunch of Poles around here anymore, especially since they're not communist Poles. They're just wanting to bring back the old status quo.
Sturdy little Poles.
Yeah, and then, the Soviet mind is shoot them all. So they took off,
As
and
Soviets do.
they had to go through Iran first, then Iraq, and, pretty much the whole Middle East, right? And the plan was eventually they're going to go to Italy, and the plan was from Italy they march to Poland and they do what the fuck they got to do. Along the way, they meet like a little boy, and he has like a satchel. Inside the satchel, there's a bear. So, soldiers are like, fuck, we want this bear. So they give the kid like a couple chocolate bars or something like that, and they got a bear. But they didn't tell their commanding officer about this bear.
Yeah, I think the bear was found. Its parents were killed.
Yeah, and this little Iranian kid just had the bear for some reason because
They might have been trying to find someone to take care of it. I think, if I remember correctly.
That or just hustling for money. I mean, he
Either
got
way.
he got some chocolate bars.
Maybe he was faking it. Please, somebody take care of the bear. Because I need money.
It was never a boy. It was just a midget the entire time. But okay.
And they are the one who killed the bear's mother.
Exactly. Which is even more impressive. Maybe that was the greatest wrestler of all time. He was able to kill 2 bears in one sitting.
With one stone.
That's not wrestling. Just in the middle of wrestling, you pull out rock. It's like, this is how Williamson won every fight in high school. Just, his coach is like, yeah, rock.
It's the old rock in the anus trick.
Yeah, so their commanding officer didn't know about this bear, right? And until he did, because the bear crawled into his tent one day and he just sees like a little cute teddy bear just there, wanting to cuddle him. And, as I can imagine, he's probably a little pissed off that, his company kept this a secret from him. But because Wojciech was so fucking cute, he just made it like the company pet. Like, no, this is the unit's pet. We're not going to get rid of it, right? And, they wrestle with the thing, they raise it. Everyone in the company goddamn loves this bear. So eventually, they got to get to Italy, right? That's where the plan was always. All right, they're on the boat to Italy. Everything's fine. They need to get off the boat. Well, they had pretty strict orders, and it seems like the rest of the Allied army kind of wanted to get rid of this goddamn bear because in their mind, it's like, God fucking forbid this bear goes crazy, right? So they made a very simple rule. Only people can come down are commanding officer or enlisted men. Wojciech has none, right? He's just a bear. They're like, shit. Well, we gotta get this bear out of here somewhere.
So what do we do?
They gave him a rank. I forget if it was corporal or something stupid, but they gave him a fucking rank. So all of a sudden, he was an officer. He could get off the boat. And they're like, God. So then they get to, the famous battle of Monte Cassino. And, it was a pretty famous battle. And, Monte Cassino, there's heavy fighting. Monte Cassino is like an old monastery that's on top of a hill, so you can imagine the fighting's really rough. You got to get up the goddamn hill. They get to see you the entire time as, Nazis are just shooting down on you. You have to work your way up. So, the Poles are given the task of providing, the other Allied forces ammunition and shit like that, which was a really tough task. You have to keep working your way up the hill. You're always like a damn threat to get shot, especially if you're walking with a bunch of ammunition. If you're a sniper, you're going to take that guy out, right?
Yeah.
That's an easy target.
Sure.
Well, imagine if you're a Nazi, doing Nazi things, saluting every now and then just to keep the arm strength
For
up.
some of you, this will be easier than others.
Yes. And then, you look down, to snipe another dude. And then you see a bear. But the bear isn't just doing anything. It's just not doing bear things. That would be weird enough as it is. Like, why is a bear in the battlefield? No, it's running along other troops, carrying ammunition.
Carrying crates of ammo.
Just like... and you're just having to watch this and think, Am I the bad guy? Like, nature's helping them.
That bear is carrying ammo crates.
Also, you know how intimidating that's gotta be at that point? Because this bear was already, like, 3 years old at that point. It was like full-grown beast.
If you tell me, Carlos, if you're the sniper and you're zooming in and you see a bear
I couldn't take him out. I couldn't do it. It's a beautiful sight. And to this day, I think if you look at the Polish Third Army or something like that, I can't remember which division, company, whatever, their symbol is a bear carrying, like, a giant bullet.
I believe it's the same bear. At one point, they were providing artillery support.
Yeah, and he was carrying
the bear
that shit.
Was going over and grabbing the artillery shells from the supply pile and carrying them over to the artillery cannon so the people could fire the shells.
Well, one of the versions of this tale was, the bear already knew how to do that, and he's always been helping with carrying shit around, which makes sense. He's a big fucking bear, and if he can use his strength, yeah, I teach a bear to do it too, right? Alternatively, second story, I like this one more. The bear, being the cute little thing it is, just saw its buddies, like, carrying shit and taking over. It's like, oh, I'm gonna help my friends. Which, for me, is so much cuter of a thought. That, bullets are flying around, he's like, I'm with friends! Just the entire time. So, yeah, I mean, war ends, all of
Bear's
that.
just trying to make his keep, man.
Exactly.
Everyone is feeding him food and alcohol and cigarettes.
Yeah.
He just needs to do his part.
So war ends, all that. Poland's not liberated; it just becomes communist. And they're like, shit, that whole Polish company can't go home. They're enemies, right? And they're like, well, we gotta do something with this bear. They said, oh well, we could just leave him in the London Zoo and all that, and we'll visit him every now and then. Like anything, they move on or whatever. But like 10 years later, one of the soldiers comes back, sees the bear still there. The bear still remembers him, which is the cutest thing again, too. And he just wants one thing from this soldier. Cigarettes. Bear dies a couple years later because of cancer of the stomach, and they're pretty sure it was because of the cigarettes. Which is like, it's fair. It was expected. Because
he was fucking eating cigarettes.
But it wasn't only eating cigarettes. He would only eat them when they were lit.
Oh, God.
Right? It's like the warmth was what really got him.
God damn.
Right? Tough ass motherfucker.
Yeah. His, esophagus must have been...
Like, I remember, in the Chase house, always seeing y'all doing, Wu-Tangs and shit like that, and just thinking how horrible that was. But now imagine a whole lit... Coley used to do them all the fucking time, and it disturbed me each time. Brendan did it once too, I think. But just imagine now, not just a little nip of it that you're doing. No, just the whole fucking cig.
Yeah, I saw somebody one time rip an entire bong of tobacco from a cigarette.
Oh,
and they
God.
did the whole thing, and I was just like...
You want to know?
Oh my God!
You want to know something funny? You just reminded me of another story. So Joseph Stalin was a big pipe smoker, right? But so you understand how much of a troglodyte he was for pipe smoking.
Troglodyte.
What do you think would be his favorite pipe tobacco?
Probably something Russian.
That would be the assumption, or from one of the other satellites, right? No, there was a brand of Georgian cigarettes, which to this day are considered among the worst thing the Soviet Union ever made. But he really liked these cigarettes. But he didn't like to smoke them with a paper and all that.
That should be their logo or their
Stalin just
thing.
yeah.
Stalin's choice.
But here's the thing. He would get the box of cigarettes, open them up, and put them in the pipe, which anyone that smokes pipes like me knows that's a big fucking no-no. You don't do that. There's a different type of tobacco you're supposed to get, right? Like the whole dynamic is really different with the fucking smoke, right?
We wonder why this man killed millions of people.
Oh yeah, he had the worst fucking taste. No, and by all accounts, people would say that the Kremlin smelled fucking atrocious because of him.
I bet it did.
Because again, I emphasize, in the Soviet Union, which I'm assuming the quality of cigs was not good, these Georgian cigs were bottom tier. Like, they were F. Like, if we had to make a tier list, straight F. And this dude would just pipe smoke it all day. And go through the effort, by the way, of opening them, putting the tobacco in, opening another one, doing it in, and just leaving the papers everywhere, and then smoking the fuck out of it, and everyone's like, so much fucking work.
Stalin, you nasty.
He is nasty.
Glad that motherfucker's dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because smoking cigarettes like that is nasty.
It is.
And that's why he deserved to die.
It's not the gulags, right? Oh, okay.
Hey, you know, it's not like they were there permanently. Revolving door.
Yeah.
Everyone goes in.
I mean, they were there for maybe days.
You just gotta. It's like serving in the military. Like you do your time.
You die.
Maybe some people die in the military.
Most in the gulags did. It's like, oh, what's one difference? Well,
You go a little hungry. Grandma gets a piece of bread.
No, I just love the idea. It's like, yeah, the gulag and the military is about the same. What's the difference? Well, in the military, some people die. In the gulags, most of them do. It's like, oh, it's about the same, yeah. It's about the same, yeah. But yeah, no. You talk about. We could probably talk about that another day. But like how Stalin died, that story's fabulous.
Yeah, we can talk about that another day. I don't think I'm familiar with that story.
Yeah, no, but that whole fiasco is great. There's a great movie on that too if you ever have the time. It's Death of Stalin. They fuck around with the timeline a little bit because you gotta do that with movies. You can't keep cutting in. It's like 2 months later, 1 week later, and no one gives a fuck about that, right? But legitimately hilarious movie. Also, they made one great comical choice. They got a bunch of really great actors for the movie, and they thought like we can either fake Russian accents, or we can just keep our normal accents and just go with the movie with that. They decided to just keep with their British accents throughout the movie, and then Stalin has a Cockney accent, which is the funniest shit I think I could have ever thought. For some reason, it just fucking works. It just works. Stalin doesn't sound anything that you expect him to. Just sounds like an angry, bitter fucking man with a shitty accent. It's like,
What
yes,
movie is that?
Death of Stalin.
Death of Stalin.
It was actually banned in Russia, but not because of what they talked about Stalin. It was just the way people would, the dialogue they had about the movie was great.
Oh.
There's one radio where these two dudes were like angrily fighting each other. By the way, from what I understand, it had almost nothing to do with the movie. The movie prompted this discussion. It's like, do we praise Stalin for winning the Second World War or the soldiers who died fighting it? Some bullshit like that, right? That was the argument they were having. They got into a fist fight over that.
Who did?
The two radio guys in Russia, which prompted
dude.
like the media guy, the head of media
people were really passionate in Russia about it back then. That's the thing. During the time of Stalin, people thought that Stalin was a good guy.
Oh no, Death of Stalin came out like 2 years ago.
Oh,
that radio fight happened like a year and a half ago.
Oh my god. Take back what I was saying.
Right? It was just the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And it got so bad that like the head of media or the secretary of media or whatever, Russia's like, yep, and this is why we can't have this movie. We're banning it. It's like,
That's crazy.
Yeah, because it wasn't like, because I don't think, I would assume it's not that controversial to say Stalin's a piece of shit in Russia. But I guess for a big group of people, it is controversial to say that. I'm not sure why. But
maybe for when did he die?
Stalin, like the 50s.
Like the 50s.
54, maybe.
Okay, so if there are like really elderly people around, they might still think that.
But you would think that when Khrushchev started talking shit about him, it was the end of that, right?
I mean,
like the de-Stalinization period was like all about shitting all over Stalin, right?
Not if you just think it's all propaganda, I guess.
Fair enough.
Here's the thing: if you live through that kind of war and you think that this one person saved you, and then people start talking shit about him later, it's like, I don't know. You've already had such an emotional,
I guess,
experience.
I mean, like it would be different, for example, in my mind, if you told me like, oh, it was like a relationship with like Mao, that like China never condemned Mao, right? They just pretended like everything that happened, oh, it wasn't his fault, it was his cabinet or whatever, right? Which that's the way they got around it. The Soviet Union's like, yeah, none of us have love for Stalin. That's pretty easy to go. He was a piece of shit. That was easy for them to do. That was no effort at all. They just kind of had to, shoot a few people and that was it. So.
Well, they had to. That's the thing. If you're gonna take over a guy like Stalin, you need to
either need to,
him.
either you justify everything he did and you just have to live with that, right?
Yeah, and then
like what they did with Mao.
So you either have to like take his support and channel into you, or you have to completely destroy his reputation, so that the fanatics that are still part of that.
And I mean, part of the Soviet Union after that was they didn't want to keep throwing people into gulags. They didn't want to just randomly shoot people all the goddamn time. I think part of it was them like, okay, this was Stalin's thing.
We started to get really PC towards the end.
Yeah, I wonder why. I'm pretty sure if I lived through Stalin, I'd become really fucking PC all of a sudden. It's like, no. We don't want to go back to the gulags, please. But no, that was the whole point. So I get if you tell me that was like a Mao relationship, that like, oh, we justify this dude, it's done. People still hold this little red book like it means something, right? Which I will just say, you guys lost a war against sparrows. You know that, right? Like, we make fun of the Australians for the emus. I get that. But you with sparrows? Emus are big. Have you seen those motherfuckers?
Emus are like the biggest birds.
I think ostriches are. Emus are second. Because emus are like smaller ostriches.
So they're up there contending. Sparrows, on the other hand.
No, not that small.
Potentially
but like,
some of the smallest.
Yeah, they're pretty tiny birds, and you lost to them. I mean, come on, millions? I mean, the Australians didn't even lose someone in the war. It's just, oh fuck no, the emu war's great, but.
Well.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a good place to call it.
Yeah, I think so too. So yeah, we'll have another episode up by next week. Each week we shall progressively get better. This one we have a microphone that seems to have functioned the entire way through. So
hopefully next week we'll have 2 microphones.
Yes.
And they'll both be working.
Yes, and maybe even, fuck it, a better camera.
I thought you were gonna say 3 microphones.
We just have like a dick mic.
Yeah, if we can eventually get another camera, then we can have like shots for both of us. Then I would have to edit them though. That would take more time.
I think that's a lot of work that we don't need to bother with right now.
If we had 2 camera angles, we could split the first half of the show with 1 camera angle and the second half with the other.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Most podcasts I see don't even bother with that. They just kind of have the one. Granted, I would say maybe at the. No, this is a good angle, but like.
This is better for sure. It probably needs to be a little closer still.
Yeah, and Jesus is just slightly rubbing my back still, but like. It's from the door. There's nothing we can do about that.
We could potentially move this a little more this way.
Yeah, but that's not a big deal. Yeah, but no, each week we'll do it better than the last. That's the only thing that matters.
All right. So. It's been a pleasure.
It has been.
Bye, everybody. All right, get the fuck out of my house.
Oh, you bastard. What the hell is this?
Oops.